Welcome and good morning. My name is Mike Ferry. One of the common things that I'm asked, and I've been asked this for several years, is what does it take to become a professional speaker, trainer, coach in the real estate industry? And I've always been amazed at how many people approach me. Now, I admit I've been doing this a long time. In June, it'll be just over 48 years doing this full time. So a lot of exposure to a lot of great people like yourself, and they'll come up and say, Mike, I want to be a speaker. So I wrote down a couple of questions because we're going to do a series about this whole concept. So you want to be a speaker, coach, etc. Because it is probably the most common thing that I see is people that get up and do a sales meeting once or twice for their company, then think they should be out on the road, whatever that means, doing some type of seminar, speeches, etc. So I wrote down a series of questions that I want you to look at because it is very common today to have people that do 20, 30, 50 transactions a year, build a small team or build a big team, that then think they should be out instructing the world with this motivational message on how to do the work that they have accomplished. So I wrote down question number one. I want to be a speaker, so I'm going to say, why do you want to be a speaker? And I really want you to think about that question, why? Because that really is the most important question. People say to me, well, why did you decide to become a speaker? Well, because I was being mentored by Earl Nightingale, one of the greatest speakers of all time, Mike Vance, one of the greatest speakers of all time, and Gunther Klaus, one of the great speakers of all time. And I was being mentored because I had said to them, someday I might want to do this work. And these three gentlemen were kind enough to take me under their wing and teach me virtually every week something about building a speaking business. Because it's not just a matter of declaring, I'm a speaker, world, line up, here I come. Why do you want to do it? Because that's the motivation behind not only your ability to succeed, but to build, to grow, make a profit, deliver a message, encourage people to take action. But the second question I wrote down, what are you going to speak on? And it's so interesting because, at the production retreat in January in Las Vegas, we had a couple thousand people there, and I had two different people walk up and say, I want to be a speaker. And then I said, good, what do you want to speak on? And they both looked at me and said, what do you mean? I said, well, you have to have a topic, you have to have a subject, you have to have something compelling for somebody to want to listen. That's A. And B, pay for that advice, those messages you're going to deliver. Third question I wrote down, whose market or who is in the market that you want to speak to? Because in real estate, there's a variety of markets. Forget the commercial residential side. Inside the residential side, you have the brokers, you have the managers, you have the team leaders, you have top producing agents, you have medium producing agents, you have agents that don't do anything, you have new licensees, you have veterans, you have people been in the business 5-10 years doing 5 deals a year. Probably you need to target some particular group. So when you decide that you're going to go out and cure the world of all its problems, because that's what most speakers are trying to do. In fact, I'll tell you a little side note story. A fellow that became very famous in the industry, not real estate, but as a speaker. We met probably 40 some years ago. And we, in fact, we actually shared a lot of our leads, a lot of the people that we talked to, because most organizations that hire a speaker are going to hire more than one. So we shared a lot of information back and forth. And he was real dynamic, very inspirational, motivational, whereas I've always been more skill, technique type of a speaker. I remember sitting at lunch one day and I said, so tell me why you want to be one of the best speakers ever in the industry. And he said to me, and it was such an interesting response, I want people to like me. Then he said, why are you doing this? I said, so they can like themselves. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, if I can deliver a message to help a person become better at what they do, they'll have a better self-image. Then I said, okay, beyond them liking you, why do you want to do this? He said, well, I love applause. I said, well, that's nice. Then he said, what is your second reason? I said, well, I want to provide a living for my family, and the living I want to provide is something that his standards are up here, so I have to learn to do a good job to make the money to provide the living. Well, we didn't have a lot of conversations about that after that, because we were on two totally different paths. Third question I wrote down, and this is probably the most important, can you put unusual, embarrassing, other strange circumstances that will take place behind you quickly? Because as a professional speaker, trainer, coach, you're going to make some mistakes. So do you have short-term memory? Can you get past a mistake that you're going to make? Because if you get up in front of a crowd, you're going to make some mistakes. I've done 7,000 plus presentations in my career, and it's probably plus, plus, plus. And I've made hundreds of mistakes. The question is, how quickly can you rebound? How quickly can you come back from that air, whether it be in the middle of a seminar, a short speech, doing a couple-day event, or possibly just in doing a little 20-minute presentation, selling an audience on why they should come and see you later, and you make a mistake. What's the result? So think about this whole question of really, do you want to be a speaker? There's probably 6,000 or 8,000 speakers now in real estate throughout North America. My son Tom and I talked about this recently, and I said, Tom, you know, there's probably 500 or 600 coaching companies now in the business. He said, yeah, but there's only 2 of us that are any good. And I said, I know, you and I. So we had a good laugh about that. But there's always a need for new people. There's always a need for good advice. There's always a need for good information. If you're the one that can deliver it, start learning about the business and what takes place, because that's critical. Thanks for watching.